بسم اللہ اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. آپ سب لوگوں کو اپسائن کے this series of webinars welcome. So Upsign, you know, Upsign is the UK Pakistan Science Innovation Global Network. It's a charity based here in the UK. The objective of this network is to support and promote research and collaborations between Pakistan and the UK and also around the world as well for the benefit of Pakistan. So the primary focus of Upsign is to work on areas of interest that could help Pakistan, its economic situation as well. And our framework that we are working on at the moment is the UN Sustainable Goals, and that cover from net zero, no poverty, zero hunger, and education, research, climate change, water. So water is the key, which is UN Sustainable Goal number 7. So today's topic is very much pertinent to Pakistan's economy. So it falls in many sectors, I would say, are targeting the UN Sustainable Goals from hunger to no poverty, and then all the way to climate change and life underwater as well. So we have honorable speaker today, Dr. Anjum Sarfraz Sahab. He has got a wealth of experience working in the blue economy, blue sector of Pakistan, and also looking at the global challenges. So we are honored to have him today, and thank you so much, Dr. Sahab. Welcome, Professor Dr. Anjum Sarfraz Sahab, today's webinar. So before we go in more details, this session is going to be more 40 minutes, and where Dr. Anjum Sarfraz Sahab will make an overview of the sector and the challenges faced by the blue economy of Pakistan. As we all know, Pakistan has got over 1,000 kilometers of the coastal line, and our strategic location provides opportunities for Pakistan to grow the sector. This blue economy itself is a multi-billion-dollar market, which I will not go in more details. Dr. Anjum Sarfraz will give more insight into the opportunities of the sector. As a matter of our interest, Upsign is always looking at where are the challenges and how we can support through academic research and collaborations with the scientists, and also especially encouraging the young scientists, youngsters to come towards science and work at Pakistan challenges. And this is one of this, I would say, subject. Water is the key, and as you know, Pakistan has got I think that if I go in water debate itself, that something is a separate subject. Maybe we need to have a separate subject specifically talking about water crisis in Pakistan. So Pakistan has a huge challenge at the moment with its water availability due to the climate change and how it's been affecting our communities and the economics as well. So before I go in more details, I think it's better let's hear from Dr. Sarfraz Anjum Sahab, and so that they can give more details about the subject and where the opportunities are and where the threats are. Over to you, Dr. Anjum Sarfraz Sahab.
Thank you very much. Respected audience, today I will be talking to you about economic potential of blue economy, focusing on Pakistan. I represent National Institute of Maritime Affairs. It was just briefly about its history. The National Center for Maritime Policy Research was established in 2007, and the main aim was to make the government and the residents aware of the maritime economy and what all we can get from the maritime economy. And then NCMPR was upgraded to NIMA, that is National Institute of Maritime Affairs, Islamabad, and its headquarters is at Islamabad, and we have the constituent unit at Karachi, and we are part of the Bahria University, Islamabad. Main objectives of my organization are a focal point for multidisciplinary maritime research, undertake analysis of maritime affairs to provide guidelines, solutions to meet challenges in maritime domain, enhances maritime awareness amongst the public and decision makers through various means and activities, and acts as a national resource for policy advice on maritime affairs. Recently, as a constituent unit of NEMA, we have established Indian Ocean Study Center, and the objectives of this study center are to monitor prevalent geostrategic environments, choke points politics for smooth flow of world trade, development in Persian Gulf for the safety of trade, especially oil, regional and extra-regional maritime powers and developments in Indian Ocean region, conventional and non-conventional maritime challenges and responses in IOR, and alliances like Quad, AUKUS, and their implication for the regional and beyond. Coming over to the main topic, that is maritime, potential of maritime economy focusing on Pakistan. The main points which I will be covering today are: first is the introduction to blue economy, then modern trends to harness the sea resources, exclusive economic zone of Pakistan, shipping, shipbuilding, seaports, modern trends, fishing and associated industries, maritime tourism, and finally the maritime awareness. First, blue economy. The concept blue economy was introduced by Gunter Pauli in 2010. It is the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs, and ocean ecosystem health. According to the World Bank, the blue economy is the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, and jobs while preserving the health of ocean ecosystem. The European Commission defines it as all economic activities related to ocean, seas, and coast. It covers a wide range of interlinked, established, and emerging sectors. All these three definitions, there is one word common, which is ocean ecosystem. Since it is important, that's why all these have included this. The ocean ecosystem includes everything in the oceans, as well as the salt water, bays, oceans and inlets, the shorelines and salt marshes. It is home to the smallest organism like plankton and bacteria, as well as the world's largest living structure. What it has been emphasized is that while extracting, using the seas and exploiting for the blue economy, the marine ecosystem should be preserved. That is, the mangroves, coral reefs, seabeds should not be damaged or destroyed. The blue economy, again, the definition, this is by the OECD, that is the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development based in USA. The left side indicates all these industries which have been established, that is capture fisheries, seafood, shipping, ports, etc. And the right side are the emerging trends, that is marine aquaculture, deep sea, ultra deep sea water and oil gas, offshore wind energy, ocean renewable energy, marine and seabed mining, marine safety and surveillance, marine biotechnology, and high-tech marine products and services. As you know, the ocean and seas cover about 71% of the Earth's surface. These are of huge importance in terms of resources, environment and conservation, trade and industry, marine sciences, and layer activities. Ocean produce at least 50% of the planet's oxygen. These are home to most of the Earth's biodiversity and are the main source of protein for more than 1 billion people around the world. The oceans are key to the world economy, with an estimated 40 million people being employed by ocean-based industries. Oceans and seabed are also for a source of oil and energy. An average 28% of the world energy source is from offshore. The coral reefs, which are found closer to the coast, provide an important ecosystem for life underwater. Thousands of species can be found living on one reef. These are source of income for millions of people. Oceans offer many organisms, including jellyfish, shells of crab, oyster, pearls, seahorses, and many other marine animals to prepare medicine such as antibiotics, powders, and ointments. Deep sea mining, which is difficult and as well as a new trend. Resources from the deep seafloor or massive sulfide, cobalt-rich ferromanganese crust and polymetallic nodules. Oceans are also for leisure activities and for entertainment. As of December 2018, there are 314 cruise ships operating worldwide. This has become a major part of the tourism industry, with an estimated market of 29.4 billion per year, and about 27.5 million passengers were carried worldwide in 2019. Numerous types of water sport is provided by the seas, such as surfing, sailing, swimming, water skiing, scuba diving, canoeing, fishing, and snorkeling. Gentlemen, Sir Walter Raleigh, English statements in about 700 years before, he said that whosoever commands the sea commands the trade, and whosoever commands the trade of the world commands the riches of the world, and consequently the world itself. And you can see that the UK and all these marine nations of Europe, they have commanded almost the whole world. The Holy Quran, the importance of the oceans and seas is mentioned in the Holy Quran about 41 times, and translation of one of the verses is given below. It is he who has subjected the sea unto you, that ye may eat flesh thereof, that is fresh and tender, and extract therefrom ornaments to wear, and thou seest the ships therein that plow the waves, that ye may seek to enrich yourself of the bounty of Allah Almighty, and that ye may be grateful. Coming over to the modern trend to harness the sea resources, these include to explore the seabed, sophisticated sonars and cameras are being developed. There is a lot of advancement in diving equipment to search the seabed and carry out other underwater operations. In the shipping sector, ships as large as 400,000 tons of various categories like oil tankers, containers, car carriers equipped with refrigeration facilities to carry fruits and other perishable items are being manufactured. The draft of modern ships that carry more than 10,000 containers is around 15 to 18 meters. Large ferry ships are also under construction for maritime tourism. Modern ports are deep draft of 20 meters. These also need sophisticated cranes, trained and efficient personnel as operators, advanced technology and communication system. Focus is to handle transshipment and transit trade. About transshipment and transit trade, I will briefly explain a little later. Availability of efficient and modern ship repair facilities near the port area is an added advantage. The shipbreaking industry needs modern equipment for cutting and welding, in addition to provision of safety of workers. In fishing industries, modern techniques to locate and catching fish are being developed. Similarly, the supply chain to export seafood are automated. For maritime tourism, coastal beaches and luxury liners for recreation are being developed on modern lines to attract tourists. Maritime awareness is an important aspect which is being emphasized, especially in the developing countries, by utilizing all available means. I will be covering the main sectors which are shown on the slide, that is shipping, shipbuilding, port infrastructure, fisheries, offshore resources, maritime tourism, and maritime awareness. First, the exclusive economic zone of Pakistan. Pakistan is blessed with plus 1,001 long coast, starting from Sir Creek in the southeast, disputed area not yet demarcated with India, up to Jivni in the west with border of Iran. The exclusive economic zone extends up to 200 nautical miles, equivalent to 370 kilometers, and extended continental shelf is 350 nautical miles, and total area is 290,000 square kilometers. This means that Pakistan has 290,000 square kilometers sea at its disposal to recover the resources or utilize it for its economic development. In accordance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea of 1994, coastal states have sovereignty over their territorial water extended up to 12 nautical miles from the baseline, and they also have sovereign rights over the nature resources in EEZ. Seabed resources outside the national jurisdiction are regarded as the common heritage of mankind, and revenues they may accrue are to be equitably shared among the international community. This picture shows the exclusive economic zone of Pakistan. The coastline, as I've already said, plus 1,001 kilometer. EEZ and extended continental shelf is 290,000 square kilometer. This area is at the disposal of Pakistan to get benefits, economic benefits. Resources in the EEZ are oil and gas and minerals, seafood, noodles are typically the size and shape of potatoes. Then we have the phosphorite noodles are found on the continental shelf in comparatively shallow waters, an important fertilizer for agriculture. Sand and gravels are accessible from the seabed in abundance, used for earth filling, extension of seashores, and as a building material, desalination plants for potable water, renewable energy from wind and sea waves. But unfortunately, Pakistan has been able to utilize this huge area for seafood only, that is for fishing. The challenges are that serving of the area for oil and gas and minerals. This is a challenge because serving of this area demands mapping of the seabed, topography, feasibility study, and machinery for extraction, serving vessel equipped with latest equipment, with trained crew, experts in oceanography and hydrography. Now I will briefly discuss about shipping and shipbuilding industry. Maritime transport is the backbone of international trade and the global economy. Around 80% of the global trade by volume and over 70% by value are carried by sea and are handled by the ports worldwide. This graph shows the world seaborne trade from 1990 to 2020. In 2019, it has shown a little decline because of COVID, and now in 2021, it has gained the initial momentum. This picture is of a container carrier. I have projected this only that this container carrier is a huge ship. It carries 21,000 plus containers, and its crew is only 35%. And if this much of cargo is to be carried by trucks, you need more than 21,000 trucks. And if it is to be transported by train, then you need a train which should have 116 kilometers long. So this is the advantage for transportation of cargo through sea. This is a picture of a oil carrier, or you can say oil tanker. Its dead weight is 440,000. It can carry plus 3 million barrels of oil. And if this much of oil is required to be transported, you need 36,785 road tankers. Coming over to merchant fleet. Merchant fleet plays an important role in economic development of a country. A country is allowed to lift its cargo up to 40% on their flagships. This facility has been given to the developing countries to improve their economy. More flagships of a country facilitate cargo transportation during tension period and wartime to lift the important cargo when the insurance cost is increased. Moreover, bigger ships with less maneuverability decline to transit through the disturbed areas. Present trend is to build ships having 15 to 15.5 meters draft, length around 275 to 300 meters, and beam about 55 to 60 meters to carry more than 10,000 containers. What I want to say over here is that nowadays the ships are bigger. Their length is, as I have said, 275 meters, and their width is 50 to 65 meters. You can imagine that how huge the ship would be. and underwater portion of the ship is between 15 to 20 meters. This means the port should have it should have depth dredged up to 16 plus meters so that they can accommodate these bigger ships. So there are comparatively lesser bigger ports which can accommodate the bigger ships. I will talk briefly about the shipbuilding industry. This I have particularly shown this slide because you can see that the developing countries which have shifted their attention towards the maritime economy, they have invested it. And look at the South Korea. First 4 shipbuilding industries are in South Korea, and then followed by Japan, then Italy, and then Russia, China, and all that. So these are the reasons that the developing countries, they are emphasizing more on the shipbuilding industry. Then is the merchant fleet of Pakistan. You would be knowing it that Pakistan has only one shipping company, that is National Shipping Corporation, which has only 11 ships, 6 oil tankers and 5 cargo ships. PNAC has handled only 10% of the total cargo of Pakistan, which was 110 million tons in last fiscal year, and remaining cargo was carried by the foreign flag carriers. Annual freight bill of Pakistan is estimated to be 5 billion approx, and whereas we have handled only small cargo. The shipping policy, which the government has recently modified, needs to be made more, modified to make it more incentive for the private entrepreneurs to invest in this sector. Then is the shipbuilding, ship repair in Pakistan. Pakistan has one commercial shipyard at Karachi, namely Karachi Shipyard and Engineering Works, which was built in 1957. It has more than 28,000 employees of various categories. It works under Ministry of Defense Production Division. In May 2019, this shipyard had constructed 448 ships for Pakistan and other countries, including UAE, Saudi Arabia, China, Iran, and Belgium. It has built missile and gunboats, frigates, and submarines for the Pakistan Navy. However, it has limited facility to handle bigger ships. This I have already talked. The government has approved to build a shipyard in Gwadar. And as you know, Gwadar is a strategic location. If we are able to build a shipyard over there, it is in the shipping route, and we will be able to attract more ships for repair and as well as construction of the bigger ships. Then is the ship recycling. Ship recycling means that the old ships, which are the life of about 25 to 30 years, they are purchased and they are brought into Pakistan, and then they are dismantled and the steel is used in different industries. Pakistan has third largest ship recycling facility at Gadani after India and Bangladesh. India is the biggest, then is Bangladesh, and third one is Pakistan. And we handle about 100 ships every year. This industry provide raw material to many small and medium industries, in addition to meeting over 33% of country's steel requirement. Approximately 25 to 30,000 workforce is employed. An estimated 1 million households are dependent on this industry, direct and indirect value chain. Contributes more than 10 billion in government exchequer towards taxes annually. The challenges in this industry are that this industry is being run as an informal industry. Government has not given the status of ship recycling as an industry. It required to meet international safety and compliance of Environment Protection Convention, which is Hong Kong Convention, and frequent changes in taxation regime. This is also affecting its performance, and old practices of shipbreaking are being followed. Government may acknowledge ship recycling facility at Gadani as an industry, promulgate policy along with the strategy for green ship recycling in Pakistan, federal and provincial government needs to jointly address outstanding issues and provide basic facilities like water, electricity, accommodation, roads, etc. at Gadani Yard in order to protect this industry. Long-term taxation policy for the industry, along with some taxation holidays, including import of machinery, to make it more competitive at regional level. To improve the yard, government needs to provide incentive for infrastructure development through public-private partnership and technical assistance. And government needs to ratify Hong Kong Convention. These were the problems and the proposal to improve the ship recycling industry of Pakistan. Next, I will touch upon the ports. Firstly, what are the modern trends in the seaports? Ports act as an interface between ocean transport and land transport. Modern trends are that location close to the major trade routes. If the port is close to the trade routes of the shipping, then obviously it has more chances of attracting the business. Then ability to dock bigger ships. Modern ships have mostly draft plus 50 meters. This I have already explained, that the bigger ports should have been dredged up to 18 to 20 meters. And connectivity with hinterland by rail and road is important. Quick turnaround of a ship at reasonable cost. This means that ship enters the harbor, how quickly you can handle it to unload and load its cargo. Because nowadays the shipping, the bigger ship, they need that they should be quickly freed and go to the next port. Amount of transshipment cargo it can attract. Transshipment cargo, I will explain it a little later. Transshipment means that the bigger ship comes and unload the cargo, and the smaller ships, they take the cargo to the smaller ports. Logistic chain and manufacturing industries in the vicinity, technology and communication system, trained labor force and efficient service provider companies. And finally, which is most important, abilities of the port authority and political administration. This is very important because they have to provide the ease of business to the shipping companies and all those stakeholders. Next is the biggest cargo handling ports of the world. You can see China is on the top, and next is number 2 is Singapore. Singapore, as you know, the area-wise is a small country, but it has a port which is located in the shipping route, and it has handled 30.9 million TEUs in 2019, and then followed by China. And you will see that 6 ports of China mainland and Hong Kong are in the first 10 ports. And as I have already explained, Singapore area-wise is a small country, but they have built in the bigger port, and they have all these ports requirement, which I've already explained. They are meeting these requirements. That's why they are attracting the business. Next is now coming over to Pakistani ports. Pakistan has 3 ports, that is Karachi Port Trust, Port Bin Qasim, and Gwadar. Karachi Port is the oldest port, has 33 berths, 3 aisle pairs, maximum draft is 13 meters. As I have said, draft plus 15 is the requirement for bigger ship, and unfortunately, the Karachi Port has draft only 13 meters. But newly built South Wharf, which has been built in 2016, this has 16-meter draft, and the new wharf handles all types of cargo, that is liquid, containers, bulk, cement, etc. And the Karachi port and almost all the ports in the world, they are now following the landlord port strategy, which means that the port authority builds the wharf or lease the land to build the wharf to the terminal operators. The terminal operators install cranes and cargo handling machinery. The port authority maintains navigable channel and provide pilots, tugs, and associated facilities, and gets the agreed charges. This is like a person who is owning a house. He has the house and then he gives it on lease to on rent to somebody, and then gets the rent. Similarly, the ports nowadays, they give the quay wall, some portion of the quay wall on rent, and then the terminal operator, they install their cranes and trained personnel and everything, and then they operate the terminal. Karachi port has handled 52 million tons of cargo in the last fiscal year. This slide shows the terminal operators operating in the Karachi port. First terminal operator was the Karachi International Container Terminal, KICT, established in 1998 at the cost of 65 million. Then is the Pakistani International Container Terminal. And lastly, which I have talked about, is South Asia Pakistan Terminal Limited. It is operating since 2016, and it was KPT has spent about 1.4 billion US dollars, and Hutchison Port, which is the terminal operator, it has spent 600 million. Next is the Port Bin Qasim, located in Karachi, functioning since 1980. Primary objective was to serve steel mills Karachi. Now it handles all types of cargo. Total 18 berths, mostly working on landlord port strategy. Only 2 berths are operated by PQA, remaining 16 by terminal operators. Handles all types of cargo, including oil, LNG, LPG, coal, cement, etc. Here also, the ship up to 13 meters draft can use this port. Channel is about 45 kilometers long. A ship carrying cargo, including LNG and LPG, which is considered as a hazardous cargo, remains more than 2 hours in the restricted waters. It has become energy hub of Pakistan. And last year, PQA handled 58 million tons of cargo. These are the terminal operator at the PQA. As I said, 4 terminals, LNG, LPG, these were built in 2017, and almost all the port area is being operated by the terminal operators. The cost is also shown in the third column, and then design capacity is also given. Now, the problem I will briefly discuss. You can see that the railway share of lifting of cargo from Karachi and Bin Qasim ports was between 1.5 to 2% only in the fiscal year 2021. This means that out of 110 million cargo, only the railway only picked up 1.5 to 2%, and remaining was by trucks. Both the ports have rail links for carrying cargo, including containers and oil. But as I have already said, only 1.5 to 2% were lifted. So therefore, there is a congestion in Karachi area. There is a lot of trucks which are hovering or remaining parked in the Karachi area, and the court orders are that the truck should move only from 11 o'clock at night to 6 a.m. in the night, and then the remaining time they are not supposed to ply in Karachi. This is increasing congestion and delay, and you will be surprised that our suggestion is that the railway and port authority should have some work out some joint venture to increase the share of railways to overcome this problem. And main hurdle is the ease of business, because railway is a government organization. When it comes to ease of business, there the things go delayed, and that's why probably the businessmen, they prefer their cargo be transported by trucks. Third port is Gwadar Port. It is located about 533 kilometers from Karachi. It is outside the choke point, that is Strait of Hormuz, from where 21 million barrels of oil passes every day. This picture shows of Gwadar Port. Briefly about Gwadar Port. Port construction work was completed in December 2006 and inaugurated for operation 2007. The main objectives are act as an alternate port for Pakistan. Alternate port means that if Karachi port or Port Qasim, or God forbid, cannot be used because of oil spillage or grounding of some ship or for any reason, then this port should be able to handle the cargo of Pakistan and handle transit trade of China, Afghanistan, and CAR states, serve as a transshipment hub, facilitate supply of cargo to hinterland of Pakistan, and development of Balochistan province, especially Gwadar region. Design depth is 14 meters, key wall is 602 meters. It has 3 multipurpose berths, and however, the present depth is only 11.5 meters. This is because that this port is not being optimally used and the dredging has not been carried out. The government of Pakistan signed concession agreement on 5th February 2007 with the Port of Singapore Authority for 40-year lease for operating and managing the port. All charges shall be collected. The agreement included that all charges will be collected by the concession holder, that is PSA, and more than 90% share of PSA and remaining of Gwadar Port Authority. This means that whatever the charges are will be collected by the PSA, the Singapore Port Authority, and only 9% or less than 10% is the share of Gwadar Port Authority. Whereas the dredging of channel, maintenance of buoy, lights, etc. is the responsibility of Gwadar Port Authority. The PSA handled very few ships from February 2007 to February 13, 6 years, probably 1 or 2 ships per month they handled, which was very less. The government in February 2013 transferred the contract for construction and operation of Gwadar Port to a Chinese state-owned enterprise known as China Overseas Port Holding Company, COPHC. Unfortunately, this Chinese company has also handled very few ships in 8 years. Again, similar performance was similar to the last Singapore Port Authority. However, this port can be used for transshipment without having interland connections. This aspect needs to be exploited to generate income and employment opportunities, especially for local residents of Gwadar region. Now I will briefly describe the transshipment. Now, what is transshipment? The transshipment concept refers to the shipment of containers or goods to an intermediate port before being taken to the final destination. It plays a critical role due to infrastructure limitation in smaller seaports, primarily having shallow draft and inefficient cranes for handling containers. The shipping line strategy is to have minimum ports of calls of their bigger ships. Nowadays, on average, a container is handled about 3 times between the first port of landing and the final port of discharge. Again, I would mention the example of Singapore, small area-wise, but second biggest port because it is handling the transshipment cargo. Now, what is transit cargo? The transit, by the way, cargo is of 3 types. One is the capital cargo, which is meant for the country itself, like Pakistan. The cargo, which is meant for Pakistan, this is one cargo. Then is the transit cargo, which means it comes to the Pakistani ports, and then from there it is loaded and taken to Afghanistan and CAR states and China and all that. That is called transit cargo. And third one is the transshipment cargo. This means that the cargo comes on the bigger ships, it is unloaded in the port, and it remains in the bounded area of the port, and then it is taken to the smaller ships and then sent to the destined ports. This is the Gwadar Port as a transshipment hub. I'm just finding out the marker.
We can see your.
Okay. Thank you, sir. This is Gwadar. This is Chabar. Over here is Gwadar, and then this is Karachi. This is PQA. Now, this is ships coming from Red Sea, and over here is Suez Canal. The cargo coming from Europe and other countries through Suez Canal, it passes through Bab el-Mandab, which is a choke point, and then destined for Persian Gulf, it travels and goes to the Persian Gulf. So inside the Persian Gulf, as I've already said, the bigger ships, they are reluctant to go to the restricted areas. So Oman has built Salalah, and then this is the Duqm port. They have built it. These are basically as a transshipment ports. And this is Gwadar. If we have started transshipment, the Gwadar port was operational in 2007. If we have started transshipment at that time, by now we would have been competing with these ports of Oman and also Aden. And this is ships coming from Far East, and they are transiting through the Malacca Straits and coming from here. And this area over here this is Sri Lanka, and further away is Singapore. And these are in the shipping route, and Gwadar is also over here. So the ship coming from here, from here, from here, they can go to Gwadar, bigger ships, and then unload the cargo on the smaller, and it goes to the Persian Gulf. So this was the transshipment concept. And for transshipment, you do not need the interland connection because the cargo remain in the port area. There is no involvement of income tax or anti-narcotics authorities. This slide shows the ports of Oman. I have just said the port of Salalah, port of Sohar, Duqm, Jabal Ali, Haben Tota of Sri Lanka, and Djibouti. You will see that some of the ports of Oman, they were built in the same time frame when the Gwadar was ready. Since we did not pay much of attention on transshipment, so these Oman, they emphasized on the transshipment, and they are handling the cargo. This is the container or the cargo handled by them. You can see their share. Obviously, Oman port does not need this much of cargo. This is basically transshipment and transit cargo. Next is fishing and associated industries. According to FAO estimates of 2020, around 60 million people are employed worldwide in fishing, including 39.5 million oceans and 20.5 million fish farming. Fish farming is done mostly in developing countries. In 2018, global fisheries and aquaculture amounted to approximately 179 million tons, value estimated about $401 billion. In 2017, fish provided about 3.3 billion people with almost 20% of their average intake of animal protein. Coming out to Pakistan fisheries, it contributes significantly to seafood security of Pakistan, especially of coastal area. You can say that the coastal area people, their dependence is on the fishing industry. The fishing industry of Pakistan earned 450 million in last fiscal year, and potential of fishing and seafood industry is estimated around 1 billion. This industry contributed in GDP is about 0.2%, which is not a respectable figure. Pakistan, as I have said already, is blessed with mangrove forest of about 160,000 hectares that yield high and good production of seafood. And Pakistan has good potential of aquaculture farming as well. The problems in the fishing industries are that mostly old techniques of fishing are being used. Modern techniques for detection or vesting, preservation on fishing vessels and preparation for export are required. Fishermen are mostly illiterate and poor, resulting unhygienic condition on board. During breeding season, which is June and July, although fishing is not officially allowed, but it continues. Fishermen catch juveniles, which are sold as poultry feed. Hence, the fish growth is depleting. So if you ask fishermen, the poor fishermen along the coast, they say that we don't have any other means of earning. So they continue fishing during the prohibited period, and they catch the small breeding juveniles, and then they sold it as a chicken feed. This is a problem in Pakistan, and I think in some of the other developing countries as well. We can resolve it by giving alternate job or projects, alternate jobs to them. For export, by the way, for export, foreign country reps visit harbor to inspect the boats, landing places, crew, and preservation system. I know that the EU, reps of the EU countries, they visited Karachi harbor and other places, and they inspected the boats, the crew, and landing places, and supply chain activities, loading on trucks, and then picking for the canning and other that. And if they were, obviously, if they are satisfied, then only they allow for export. And this portion we need to emphasize to make it more hygienic. Coming over to maritime tourism. In 2019, the travel, firstly, the word tourism. In 2019, the travel and tourism sector contributed 10.4% of the global GDP, a share which decreased to 2.5% 2020 due to obviously restriction of mobility due to COVID-19. And some of the developed and island countries' income from tourism is Maldives. A Maldives-based economy, or the major factor contributing to its economy, is tourism, and that is maritime tourism. They have 28.78% of its contribution towards GDP. Then is the Caribbean region, and then you can say Malta, again, island countries, and this is significantly contributed in the tourism. The coastal countries like Pakistan need to explore more avenues to increase maritime tourism. Coming over to maritime tourism of Pakistan, the coastal highway is now operational, and there are picnic spots, sightseeing places, sandy and sunny beaches along the coast. Holiday resorts can be constructed at suitable locations, which may have water sports such as scuba diving, surfing, water skiing, canoeing, rowing, sailing, etc. Beach sports exclusively for foreigners can be developed. Sea cruises on specially designed crafts during calm weather season, that is November to March, may be arranged. During fishing season, that is November to March, deep sea fishing may be arranged for the tourist. The Karachi harbor has a lot of pollution and congestion. This is the main problem. All the industries of Karachi, they are throwing their waste in the Karachi harbor and directly in the Red Sea without proper treatment. There are not some treatment, sewage treatment plants, but they are not sufficient. So the pollution is increasing, and this is making a problem. And at the same time, there is no landing place. There is no jetty in Karachi from where the tourist can board the ports. There are huts on the Sandspit and Oxbay, Karachi, which are not in good shape. This aspect may be looked into to enhance the tourism and to provide recreation facilities. Gwadar, Urmara, and Persni are now reasonably developed cities. Almost all civic amenities and hospitals are now available there. Beaches at suitable places may be developed to promote tourism. A coastal service.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, just a second, Dr. Anjum Sarfraz, because time is going up, so we need to get some questions as well. So it's such an interesting debate. I love it.
Next 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is the picture of a Gwadar club for tourism. Then is the maritime awareness. This is the factor which needs special attention. Government officials, businessmen, as well as citizens need to be made aware of the importance and potential of maritime sector. Program on TV channels are organized for public awareness. Degree certificate courses may be conducted by universities covering maritime aspects. Seminars and workshops are organized by think tanks. talks on maritime importance are given by the reps of the think tanks in the colleges and universities. More maritime research centers may be established to carry out research on maritime related aspects. Government may create ease of business environment for this sector. Thank you, and thank you for giving me patient hearing. Now I am available for question and queries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anjum Sarfraz. Thank you for your very thoughtful discussion and the insight to the maritime blue economy sector of Pakistan. So it's amazing. Thank you so much. And I see, personally, I've got like a master class, so I got my knowledge to the next level. And this is such an important sector in terms of its role in the economy, in the international shipping industry as well. So before I go in more details, I think we have some questions here. There's a raised hand by Mazam Khan Sahab. So please unmute yourself and ask the question. And I encourage others, please either put your question into the chat box or raise your hand. I'll come to you. Over to you, Mazam Sahab.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I have just only a comment. You may be knowing that Pakistan is getting benefit of the UN law of the sea, but it took us about 20 years to notify the baseline points, and then it was notified in 1996, but still it is not being used. If we are start using it, the area which was reported to be about 290,000 square kilometer would be more than 300,000 square kilometer. Even the map that you have shown, the baseline is not used, and you have used the coastline. And this is the thing I've been pursuing, and I'm asking people to do, that we should be going for baseline as our starting point, which will increase the area of Pakistan. But still, people are using, everybody is using the coastline, not the baseline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. May I clarify it here, sir? Sir, the EEZ is measured from the baseline. Baseline are those points which are protruding into the sea. From, you can see the Somiani, complete Somiani Bay, and then the Astola Island, and then the Gwadar Island. These are the tips from where the baseline is established. And from the baseline, we measure the EEZ. And from baseline, and repeatedly, not from the coastline, from the baseline, with the EEZ is being measured, just for a clarification. And this is not now, this is being done about 10 to 15 years before. And I hope I have clarified. So we are measuring our EEZ and extended continental shelf from the baseline, and that's why it is 290,000 square kilometer. I hope I have answered.
Thank you so much.
I agree, but still you have used a map in your presentation which shows baseline, not the coastline. This is being done repeatedly. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir, I will change the map. Sorry. Since I had only this map over here, otherwise I would have done it. Thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you. There's the next question, which is asked in the chat box. Dr. Fahd Rasool has asked, fish trawlers are hunting much more fish than small fishermen. What's policy for them? So,
sir, we have 3 fishing areas, just to explain it. Up to 12 nautical miles is regulated by the provincial governments, that is Balochistan and Sindh. And they have prohibited trawling. Now the new fishing policy is that fishing by trawling is prohibited by Sindh government as well as Balochistan. Balochistan has already implemented this rule, and now Sindh has also made it compulsory. So within 12 nautical miles, the trawling as per new policy is prohibited. Then from 12 nautical miles to 20 nautical miles, this is a buffer zone. And from 20 nautical miles is deep sea fishing. And in deep sea fishing, the bigger trawlers are carrying out fishing. And over there, the small trawlers cannot go it. So there is no dispute.
Thank you.
I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you very much. There's a hand raised from engineer KB. Kareem, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab. It's very nice presentation, very informative. Just a quick question, because I'm in the field of data science and data engineering and data analytics. And what I feel the need for today is, if we have a lot of data and we analyze it through the mean of technology, then it will help us to make a prompt decision wisely. My question is that, have we got an effort of collecting all that data, which will help us to make a prompt decision in order for improvement or to bringing some results?
Okay, thank you. Ji, Dr.
Yes, sir. Sir, there is an organization, International Ocean, IMO. It is in Karachi, but anyway, the data is being collected regularly by 2-3 organizations. One of the organization is NEMA. We are also collecting the various data on all these sectors, and we have different, we have attached certain researchers. Their job is only, we have divided them. One is fishing, shipping, and these areas, and they are doing the data collection very meticulously and very regularly. And similarly, there are a few other organizations in government sector, they are also doing it, and the data is being collected to be utilized for future planning.
I mean, and is this used in like a kind of a data lake, and which will allow for data analysis and data machine learning and artificial intelligence, which will allow you to just make a good use of data? Only collection is just not just collection is not allowing you for any decision.
Sir, our main aim of collection is to utilize it, and we do analyze it, and we do analyze, and then we forward our analysis and recommendation to the concerned quarters in government, as well as to the stakeholders, to the civilians.
Okay.
Like shipping.
I just got here, I think what Kareem, sorry, is your name Kareem, sorry?
My name is Abdul Rahim Khan.
Abdul Rahim. Sorry, I think what Abdul Rahim is saying, so where the opportunities are for startups or new companies, because there's no whole host of SMEs we're talking about. So I think if the government is running on a large scale, so is there an opportunity for a small company, they can come and provide some analytics.
Oh.
So which would be the, I would say, the point where they need to interact with? So who's the authority or organization where they can access this information?
Sir, if I have the particular, sector, then I can, is it fishing, shipping, stevedoring, or which area? And then I can, give the name of the organization. We have their telephone numbers and their websites and all that, so it can be provided.
Okay, so maybe there could be an offline chat.
Yes, sir.
Rahim and Dr.
And
Okay.
just the last thing you mentioned, Dr. Saab, a congestion problem because of the trucks and all of this, because of taking this transport. I would suggest if you can put in some trackers into these trucks, which you can just have like the paths that they are taking, and then which can be analyzed in such a way where you can make some decision onto that. Wherever possible, some trackers to be used for various different purposes. I don't know how easier to get these cheaper trackers, which will be centralized, collected, and then will be analyzed.
Thank you, sir. May I mention over here that National Logistics Cell and the bigger trucking companies, they have the trackers. And they have trackers good about 5 to 6 years before, and they are monitoring their movement. But the problem is that for a port, you should have pre-parking of trucks area where the trucks are pre-parked before entering the harbor. And then they go in a queue to load the cargo and then take it to the next gate. Problem is that in Karachi port, this has become in center of the city, and there is no pre-parking area where the trucks can park. And they park it in Kemadi area, in Clifton area, and in some of the residential areas. And some of the companies, they have trucks numbering 80 to 100 18-wheeler trucks. So this is the problem, especially in the Karachi port. But at the same time, I have carried out little research on this. Both these ports, Karachi and PQA, they have rail links. And rail, as I've already said, only 1.5 to 2% cargo is being lifted by rail, whereas rail can lift more cargo. If rail can lift more cargo, then the trucking things will automatically reduce gradually. And at the same time, the railway, which is running in loss, they can also earn some money. But the problem in railway, as I have said, is ease of business, because there the business things are, the businessman needs one window operation. And unfortunately, they have not been able to develop one window operation. So that is the problem. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anjum. I think this is a debate. This could be an interesting research question as well. Let's go to the next participant. Dr. Hamad Majid has asked a question. Dr. Hamad Majid, welcome coming in. Please introduce yourself and ask the question. Thank you again. Anybody who I think next one I would like to ask Dr. Shahid as well, because coming from the biotechnology perspectives, the scope for seaweeds and number of other things as well, I would like to ask him as well a question. So, okay, over to you. Dr. Hamad.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. I am Dr. Hamad Majid. I have 22 years of industrial experience. I have a question regarding the container freight during the COVID. The freight of the shipments are going very high, and still they are on the higher state. What's your forecast about the freight? Because many shipments, and even it is unpredictable to give the price to the customers. Most of the industries are very unfamiliar with the future of this situation, the container situation. What's your forecast, sir?
Sir, this is a very specialized question. And I also know, I know a few terminal operators like KICT and PICT, and I have worked with them for carrying out the research. And I've asked them the same question, that the container freight has almost doubled, and especially after COVID. And what is your forecast? So he was not very, he did not give any satisfactory answer. And his answer was that I cannot predict it, but he was saying that once after a year or so after the COVID, the prices of freight are likely to decrease.
Thank you, sir.
Next question is, because we have got a lot of youngsters here as well. So anybody, before I go there, I think I'm going to ask Dr. Shahid Mansoor. First of all, Dr. Shahid Mansoor is the director of NIPG in Faisalabad. So Dr. Shah Sahab, I just want to hear from you. What sort of potential?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. And it's a really very interesting topic. So we are already thinking of establishing a center in Balochistan, and the idea is that to cover both coastal region and as well as rest of the Balochistan for this venture. So there's a great potential for using this blue economy for food security. So I'll be looking for suggestions that how to proceed. What are the options available. So I'm sure that there's a great potential, and also using the whole coastal region for production of edible oil. Like there's one suggestion is to go oil seed like just like Malaysia and Indonesia has done.
The palm oil. You're talking about
palm oil. So there is a potential that I need some really scientifically valid suggestions for this. I'm looking forward to this. I heard that there was a Pakistani origin entomologist who helped in the growth of industry in Malaysia and probably in Indonesia as well. So some expert opinion whether we should go for this or not, because it's not possible to grow everything, but you know, if it is feasible in that area, so that will be great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sir, you have, may I repeat, you have asked a question about setting of palm oil in Balochistan area. This is your question, sir?
I think Dr. Shah said, what's the scope? What's the potential in terms of exploring the coastal belt in terms of growing palm oil?
Yes, sir. Sir, again, it is a bit technical question, but this much I know, being a Pakistani, that in palm oil, growth of palm oil, the government is encouraging, and the entrepreneurs are looking seriously to participate in this industry. Since he wants a particular, a very correct answer. So since I am not an expert in this field, so what I can do is I have the contact numbers, and we can carry out research on this, and we can provide the relevant information.
Okay. So
this is sort of a task given to us, and NEMA can work on it and can provide the input to you, sir.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Anjum. I think I'm just conscious of the fact usually the upsign webinars, they are 1 hour, so they shouldn't be going beyond 1 hour. So, and again, today is weekend. I don't want to sort of hold that back. So I think as a last question, so just want to ask anybody who has any comment or any urgent query to ask, please do raise a hand so that I can just take that question. I'm just looking at, Sarah, is there any questions in the chat box, Sarah?
Yes.
Yeah, please, anyone you want to just quickly ask, please? Sarah is, she's the intern in Upsign, and she's a fantastic resource. And thank you again, Sarah, for setting this event. I know there are a couple of hands are coming up here. So maybe, Sarah, you want to take these questions which are coming up in the chat, up in the menu.
Okay, so Fuad Hanif has a question. Sir, please go ahead and ask.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, although I joined a bit late, however, it's a very interesting question, and it's a very interesting discussion. Keeping in view the time limitations, I'll straight away ask a question from the honorable speaker. The question is, what is the potential of linking our rivers with Arabian Sea? In the British era, we had, these maritime activities in this area, Indus and upwards. So if we have some of that thing in queue, we can overcome our fuel cost, exuberant cost. We can lower down so much of load on our roads, pollution, environmental pollution and all that. The question is, can we link our rivers with Arabian Sea? Thank you, sir.
Sir, may I submit, sir? Sir, I know a person, not a person, in fact, the Punjab government, last Punjab government, of Shahbaz Sharif, I don't want to make it a disputed this or that government. He established a company which was to study the inland water transport. They carried out study for 3 years, and their study was that within Punjab, starting from Attak to Mianwali, they have already established linking of rivers, and this is basically their work is only up to the tourism point of view, but their main aim is for transportation of cargo. And as you know, that in between rivers and canal, the bridges are not very high. So the boats, they cannot pass through the bridges. That's a major problem. And they have found out the solution that these bridges can be bypassed. This means that you dig in, you convert the course of the river bypassing the bridge, which is again a costly business. So this study was carried out, but starting from you can see it is only in the Indus River. They starting Indus River up to Karachi, it is not possible in one go. As I said, in Punjab government, in the Punjab area, they have done their job, and their feasibility study is that it is possible. And for tourism point of view, they have made it to some extent operational as well. But for transportation purposes, it has not yet been commissioned because, as you know, the hurdles are more, and loading the cargo in the boats and then unloading and then loading in the trucks and all that. If you combine all these things, this procedure becomes cumbersome. But the work is on, and in the Punjab area only. So I hope I have answered the question.
Thank you, sir.
Sarah, I think you've gone quiet. So let me ask then, Parveen, you have a question. You have raised your hand. Parveen is Professor Parveen Ali. She's a professor of nursing sciences, but I think she's also she's the chair of UpSign. So I think it's good to have her today. Thank you, Parveen, for joining. Yes, please. Over to you.
Assalamu alaikum, Khalid bhai. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. No, Khalid bhai, you don't think I am the chair of UpSign. It's not about thinking.
I just have to think about it. You see, I just said it.
This is Parveen. I work at University of Sheffield at the Doncaster and Bassett Law Teaching Hospitals as Professor of Nursing and Professor of Gender-Based Violence. So thank you so much, sir. I've learned a lot from your talk today, and the reason for joining was just to say thank you to everybody and to be one of the participants in the webinar. But there has been wealth of information that has been really very, very useful to me, who don't really know anything outside healthcare, and you know, how health affects people, and or gender, and you know, that kind of aspect. So you've made it very accessible to help somebody like me understand the importance of it. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for doing this for UpSign and for our members. That's what I just wanted to say. And thank you, Khalid bhai, for arranging it, and Sarah for helping and supporting, and everybody else for joining. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Parveen. You have made our life easy. You don't have to do vote of thanks at the end. So you did it. Thank you. Thank you. So there's one hand raised for iPad. Not sure what's the name, please.
Yeah, it's just that I need to leave. That's the reason I just thought to say this, because otherwise I'm in between. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please give your name and then ask questions.
Yes, again, Khalid Sahab is Professor Khalid Hafiz. So I'm Professor of AI at De Montfort University, though I'm based in Sheffield, so I want to see Professor Parveen sometime. Dr. Sahab, very, very nice presentation. I have one comment and one question. They're very short one. The comment is, can we get your presentation slides so we can all go through? That will be very useful. And my question is that we always heard the Gwadar port is at least 40 meters deep, and that gives an advantage to all other competing ports in the region. But from your presentation, I didn't gather it. So is that a media hype only?
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what we always heard from the media is that the Gwadar port is 40 meters deep, so therefore it can dock very large ships. So therefore it gives a competing. It is advantages against the competing boats in the region. But from your presentation, I didn't gather that.
Okay, sir, that's a good question. Sir, I have visited Gwadar personally. And in fact, I happened to talk to the Chinese CEO, who is China Overseas Port Holding Company. And my question to him was that Gwadar Port, why it is 2007 and now it is 2022. I went in early 22. Why it is not optimally being operated? So his answer was, I was thinking that he will say that the security condition and all that, but he did not mention, because Pakistan Navy and Pakistan Army and other, they are strictly providing the security to these Gwadar area, especially in the Gwadar port area, and at sea by the Navy and all that. So that was not his worry. His worry was that the channel of the Gwadar has reduced to 11.5 meters. Its design depth is 14 meters. He said that it has to be dredged to 14 meters so that we can carry out transshipment. And as I said, for transshipment, you need bigger ships to come and then smaller ships to take the cargo to the Persian Gulf or nearby. So the bigger ships have more draft, 14 meter and more. So we as NEMA, we have already forwarded to the concerned ministry that please, if we have calculated the cost also, that and duration also, how much cost and how much duration is required to dredge up to 16 meter or 14 meter. But unfortunately, this aspect of dredging is the main hurdle, and the government has not allocated funds. Okay. And I don't know allocated funds or not allocated funds, but dredging has not yet started. Yeah. And present depth is 11.5 meter, and we need to do it to 14 meters.
Okay, no, thank you, Dr. Anjum. I think this is what exactly what Professor Hafiz was alluding to. This is like more like a media hype. So now we know from you the fact is that the depth need to be reworked out. Thank you so much. So next question, I think I'm going to call just get the last question and then going to say formal thank you for the event closing. DG Nima, please ask your question. Thank you. Welcome again coming to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid Saab. Thank you, Upsign, for helping NEMA to project the Pakistan's maritime sector and making use of the Commander Anjum's visit to Europe. I think this proved to be a good opportunity. I just wanted to correct the last question asked by someone referring Gwadar as 40 meter. 40 meter is not a realistic figure. It is 14 meter, 14 meter. And at present, even the 14 meter depth is not available. Lately, the government has announced a priority action to achieve the design limit, but the design limit is 14 and not 40. Just wanted to correct that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Bahut shukriya. Thank you very much. I think this for correcting the numbers. So 14 and 40. So maybe it rhymes. So okay. Thank you very much. I think before we finally close this event, I just want to maybe request back again our respected speaker to give us some take-home message. Especially we have the youngsters here and highlight the areas for research where we need to do further. I would say collaboration and research. This could be maybe a graduate or master's thesis or PhD thesis. So I just want to hear a few words from you before we formally close this event. Over to you, Dr. Anjum Saab. Sir.
Sir, from the questions, and I have gathered that the maritime awareness is coming up, and this sector needs a special attention. And incidentally, the government of Pakistan in the national security policy has given a separate para about the development of maritime sector, and they have highlighted that we will emphasize the Gwadar port, the transshipment aspects, fishing, and all these factors which I have, sectors of maritime sector, they have categorically mentioned each, and they, in the next security policy, we hope that this sector will be given due importance and it will flourish in Pakistan. And at the same time, I assure you that NEMA and many other think tanks in Pakistan, they are specially emphasizing on maritime awareness and what potential we have and what are the proposals and how we can go about to improve our economy. So this sector has got ample importance in the government level, in the stakeholders level, and in the think tanks. And we at NEMA and many other think tanks, we are organizing the seminars, webinars, and at the same time, the experts are going to the universities and they are delivering lecture on the maritime aspects, especially on the potential of Pakistan in blue economy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anjan. I think that's very helpful. And I think with this closing note, the opportunities are there to do further research. And I was really impressed by the number you mentioned about the mangrove forest, 160,000 hectares. So that's a huge area. So that could, again, a carbon sink as well, and the whole biodiversity. And I think Pakistan has been blessed by these natural resources. I think with this, I would like to say a big thank you to you, and big thank you to the participants who have joined from Pakistan, from the UK, and from around the world as well. And please do keep in touch with the Upsign. Look at our Upsign website, where we plan to have a series of webinars. Usually, I think we have chosen the day is going to be on a Thursday, but Saturday is also open as well. So anybody who's interested, please get in touch, and we would be happy to have this kind of session. So with this, I would say thank you so much, and look after yourself, and Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for offering me the opportunity. Thanks a lot.